I think there's a commonly held belief, even if not stated or not like explicit, that if you don't have faith, and by faith I mean like religion, spirituality, or maybe literally faith, right? That belief in something that you can't explain or can't prove, however, whatever form that takes for you. That if you don't have that, if you're somebody who thinks the universe is completely random, there's no meaning to it, it's almost silly to think that any of this matters, or that anyone's listening or anyone cares, right? That whole thing. The generally held belief, I think, is that like that doesn't really pair with a view of like gratitude and like an appreciation for what you're given, because it would seem like, well, all of it's meaningless, right? So like there's no reason to be appreciative or grateful. It just is what it is. It's kind of that very, I'll use the word stoic, but not in the philosophy sense, but just that very flat, even-keeled approach to life. None of it matters, none of it means anything, no real emotions involved. But I don't actually think that's true, or at least I don't think it's logical. I think if you follow the logical thread, if the world is meaningless, I'm not saying it is, but let's just say you believe that, and maybe I do, and it is completely random. It's all just a random sequence of events, and things happen, good, bad, indifferent. There's no purpose, there's no meaning, there's no orchestration behind it. If that's all true, then when good things happen, you should be grateful, because it just as easily could have been the other way. And you could say like, well, what's a good thing? What do you mean a good thing happens? Because I thought everything's meaningless. Well, by a good thing, I mean anything that you appreciate or enjoy in life. Now, maybe you're somebody who literally goes to the extreme and says, I don't appreciate and enjoy anything. I'm completely flat and even. Well, okay, then that generally held belief holds. But I think most of the population falls somewhere further down the spectrum, where it's like, yeah, that's kind of my general underlying assumption, but there's still things I enjoy in life, right? I often reference the Tolstoy book, A Confession. I think that's kind of where he was. He conceptually, intellectually, he understood like this is all meaningless, but then he also was grappling with that because he enjoyed life, and there were things that he found joy or happiness that out of. So I think for people like that, you should be grateful. You should be grateful to the universe or whatever it is, because that random sequence of events, that luck that came into play, it didn't have to be there. You didn't need to get this thing that you enjoy, appreciate, get fulfillment out of. It didn't have to be there. And on a very like logical, mathematical level, you should be like, I'm very grateful that it happened this way, that it worked out this way. To me, that only seems logical. So much so that you could kind of continue to follow the thread and get to a conclusion, or maybe not a conclusion, but a next step that says we shouldn't really be proud of anything. We shouldn't really feel like we achieved things that we deserve credit for or anything like that. And maybe this is actually what that generally held belief should hold. It's not about gratitude. Gratitude should be there, because if something feels good, you should be happy that you got something that feels good. But the sense that you achieved it, that you did something to make it happen, that's the part maybe that you shouldn't have. And the logical kind of thread on that is, if it is random, even if you put in a bunch of work to better yourself and overcome something really difficult, or increase like the mental discipline in your mind to achieve things, or whatever it is that you did some work to achieve, in the spirit of how we're talking about the universe, like it was somewhat random that you were able to do that. The fact that you were able to, again, in a completely hypothetical situation, kind of get your shit together and figure out how to overcome your issues or your demons, or face these things and cope with them and deal with them, or put in the work ethic, right, to build the mental discipline to do the work that needed to be done. That stuff didn't have to happen. Something allowed that to happen. You should just be fortunate and grateful that that thing happened that allowed you to then do the stuff you needed to do. Because in a different set of circumstances, with some different variables that play out differently, it may not have happened, right? All this stuff is kind of just all floating around and playing out the way it does. And when it happens to play out in our favor, when it happens to play out in a way in which the situation was such where we were able to learn a lesson or hear something we needed to hear, and then execute and implement it on it in a way, and the hurdles and the limitations and all the things life could throw at us didn't get in the way, and it worked out and we achieved the thing we wanted to achieve, gratitude is almost the only logical explanation, right? So it makes me think, it used to be more of a joke. Celebrities, athletes, whoever it was, they'd always thank God. And people would be like, why are they always thanking God first? And I can't tell you how many times I find myself coming around, and it's not that I necessarily believe in God now in the form like I was brought up with Catholicism, but there is a logic to it. This idea of thanking somebody first, because what did I do? I was just fortunate enough to have the athletic ability that I have, or to get the breaks that I got in my career, or to hear the lesson and actually execute on it and do it so that I can achieve what I achieved. All of that, it came from, in some ways, the God of randomness allowed it to fall out that way. And you should be grateful to that God, I would say, if that is the belief you hold of the universe.